Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home and
more. Little bonus time for you on Wednesdays and Fridays. We're actually with you from 2 to 4. Be sure to tune in. You could do that a couple different ways. One is on your radio, KDOW 1220 AM. You could also listen to us live online if you go to kdow.biz. We're a live show. We also love your calls and your questions. The number is the same during the show, 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220 if you have any questions for my guest or myself. And also the live text line is up and going. We get a lot of text during the show, so for those that want to text questions in about the topic we have today or anything about real estate, feel free to do so. That text line's 408-838-9060. Again, text 408-838-9060. I'm going to invite my guest in, Kim McAtee with Coldwell Banker and specializes in the Orinda market. Kim, good to have you here today.
Thanks, Joe. It's great to be here. I have some great information for your listeners.
You do. I can't wait for this topic. So today the topic's going to be the 10 tips to get your offer accepted. So stay tuned and really pay attention to this because Kim is an expert in this market and in general in real estate. We're going to have her give a little bit of her background, but we're going to launch into this topic. And during our conversation, again, back and forth, these are some really good topics, bits and pieces to the topic we're going to go through and how to get the offer accepted in a challenging market like this. So feel free to contact Kim and ask any questions during the show about as we move our way through. Well, let's get started. Kim, tell us a little bit about the listeners, a little bit about your background, and then what you do today in your role with Coldwell Banker.
Thanks, Joe. I've been in real estate for 13 years with Coldwell Banker, and before that I was in corporate business and decided it was time for me to have my own business, and so I decided real estate would be the place to do that. I grew up in the what we call La Miranda, Lafayette, Moraga, Orinda area, and went to Berkeley and went to UC Berkeley, and then moved out of the area and came back and raised my kids here, loved the area, and really enjoying selling real estate there. And just recently, last summer, finished an MBA program at St. Mary's College, which was a lot of fun. Yeah,
great.
Traveled overseas for that. It was a great program.
How exciting that must have been.
It was lots of fun. So, as you may know, we've got a great market over in the East Bay. Not quite as crazy as you have here on the peninsula, but there's lots of opportunity for both buyers and sellers in our market. So hopefully we can talk some more about that today.
Yeah, we'll do that. Well, thanks for that introduction. Yeah, that's these markets we were talking a little bit before we came on the air about, just in general, the challenge of getting the offers accepted and multiple offers. What kind of things do you do to make your offer more acceptable? All these types of things. So we're gonna launch into that. So what's the number one as we work our way through this? The number one thing you would say be sure you do.
Well, I think the most important thing is to pick a real estate agent who's committed to forming a strong business relationship with you.
Okay.
Pick someone who is not transactional, but someone who's relational. What's their business philosophy? You don't want someone who's going to disappear after you buy your house and move in. If you have a problem, you need someone who's going to be there to counsel you, to help you find resources in the community, someone who's going to give you information about what to be cautious about during the process of purchasing. You want someone who's dedicated to serving your needs before, during, and after the sale. Sometimes people forget that after the sale is just as important as during the sale. So
I'm so glad to hear you say that. We talk a lot on the show. The format of the show is education and information, and they'll hear me a lot talk about the relational, the difference between being relational and transactional. I'm so glad you brought that up because it's easier said than done. I know a lot of people say that. But you're right. I mean, you have to be attentive to your client's needs during the transaction. Make sure that you're not just looking for, the end of that transaction. And I'm glad to hear you say also at the end of the transaction, so many people just kind of say, okay, off to the next one, when you don't realize taking really good care of that client. And even afterwards, as you'd mentioned, if they need anything, something comes up later down the road, staying in touch with them and marketing pieces and those types of things really allow them to help become your advocates, don't they?
It's really important. Anyone who's ever been in sales knows it costs so much more to get a new customer than it does to keep an existing customer, and that philosophy works in real estate as well. It's much easier, and you may think, well, people aren't going to move every 2 years, but they know people that want to move, and friends and family members and people in their community and their neighborhood that want to move. So it's really important to stay in touch with them and help them get situated in their community, and then oftentimes they become friends and are referring people that they know to you in your database. So it's really important.
Yeah, I would agree. And even as a resource, how many times later on does someone call you and say, gee, I need a painter, I need a plumber, I need a carpenter, I need someone to do carpentry work? For someone to have you be the resource, isn't that what you want as well?
Oh, it happens every day. I had an email yesterday from a client that wanted a referral for someone to do a deck and do windows in their house. I even had a client call me once and say that they had their credit information stolen. Someone was trying to cash a check, and they called me and they said, what do I do? I remember you sent a flyer out a couple months ago about people stealing your credit and your identity. So it's nice to be able to be that resource and just point people in the right direction with whatever they need, doctors and dentists and that type of thing. So it's a great resource.
So true. Well, let's move on to number 2. One of the most important things to do would be what? Number 2.
Well, Joe, I'm sure you can speak to this one. Get your financing in place before you start looking at homes.
Yes.
And my first point about that is it's not 2007 anymore. That gone are the days when you can say that this is, write down on a piece of paper, this is how much I make, and expect the bank to loan you money based on that. There's a lot of paperwork. I'm speaking from experience because I did a refinance last fall, and it was almost the end of me. But it's really, really important. And when I say get your financing in place, I'm not talking about just making a call to a lender and getting a pre-qualification. I'm talking about getting a fully underwritten approval so that you are ready to go. You know exactly how much money the bank is going to lend you or the lender is going to lend you. It reduces the risk for the sellers. They understand if you explain it well, have your agent explain it with your offer. They understand the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. It can compete with cash in many cases. I've had many cases where I've had buyers get their offer accepted when they were getting a loan over a cash offer. So it's really important to have that in place. It identifies any surprises in your credit history that you may need to fix before you can go ahead and make an offer on a property, and allows you to focus on the actual the search process for the house. If you get your financing in place, then you don't have to worry about it, and you can look at the houses and worry about what neighborhoods and what type of house you want instead of worrying about what piece of paper your lender needs that week or that day.
No, you hit it right on the head. I'm so pleased to hear you say this because I think the point you made is well said. It's not 2007 anymore. You have to qualify, you have to show the money, and there's a lot of frustrating parts to financing. We talk about it a lot, but still, I think the onus, the important part is on us, is in the financing world, is that we set expectations up front, and I think that's the most important thing is, let people know up front, it's going to be a little challenging, we're going to ask for a bunch of stuff, it's going to seem frustrating. I know there's going to be times we're going to ask about a $50 deposit. Where did it come from? All these things that sound really ridiculous, and, quite frankly, they are. But that's part of the world, unfortunately, and part of the lending process. And I think if we do our job and try to set those expectations up front, it usually helps a little bit better. It still may not cause – nothing's perfect. But I think that's one of the biggest keys as well, and you stated it, really well in that. Get that done up front, underwriter's approval. It's so important. So many people get a piece of paper quickly, and they keep saying, well, Joe, I was pre-qualified or pre-approved. I said, but really, what did they have? Right away, I understand some of the minimal stuff that they asked for. I know that, there can be an issue there. So it's so important.
One of the things when you're talking about setting expectations, Joe, that I tell my clients is don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Because when they're asking you for all these pieces of paper, some people, finance can be a very sensitive thing for a lot of people, and they think, why are they asking for that? Why did they ask me for this? And I tell them they're asking everyone for that. And so don't get frustrated. Don't think that they're putting you under a microscope. It's everyone. That's just part of the process. That's part of all the underwriting changes that have happened in the last 8 years. So don't take it personally and get back to your lender as fast as you can with the information that they need. It makes a big difference in the process.
Well said. If you're just tuning in, this is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, and I'm visited here in studio for the entire hour with Kim McAtee. She's with Coldwell Banker. We're talking about the 10 tips to get your offer accepted, and you're going to want to stay tuned. Tune in. If you have any questions for Kim or me during the show, 1-800-516-1220, or you could text 408-838-9060. So number 3.
Number 3 is participate actively in the search process. Mm-hmm. And what I mean there is your real estate agent can't buy a house for you.
Right.
I mean, it's really important that you're involved, that you're looking at properties online, you're getting familiar with the neighborhoods. Ask your agent about off-market or what we call pocket listings. Those are listings that are not on the MLS, that you're not going to see on the internet in most cases, but your agent should know about them. For example, our office has 75 agents in the office, and so we know about all kinds of properties that are coming on the market, and some people do not want a parade of people coming through open houses and brokerage tours, so they would prefer to sell their house off-market. So your agent should know about local properties like that. Sometimes you'll have more of an opportunity to be able to write an offer on a property like that. You won't have to compete against the general public in that situation. When I suggest that you participate, spread the word to friends and family and coworkers to be on the lookout for properties or friends that they know that might be selling. Keep an eye out for clues like garage sales and estate sales. People usually clean out their garages before they put their house on the market, so that might be an indication of a house that's going on the market soon. And then another trick that's worked for my buyers before is write letters to people that have homes that you like or neighborhoods that you want to live in.
Yeah.
We've done, a mail blast to particular neighborhoods and saying, do you know anybody in this neighborhood? I have a client who's approved, ready to go.
Yeah.
They want to buy in this neighborhood.
Because you don't know, right? I mean, I love what you say here, Kim, about spread the word to friends and the letters, because we don't know. I mean, someone could be 2 weeks away from thinking about putting their home on the market, and that could be the perfect place for one of your buyers, right? I mean, you just don't know.
That's right.
And getting that word out is so important. All right, this is good stuff. We're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue. Again, if you have any questions for Kim or me, 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220, or you could text us 408-838-9060. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We'll be back with you in just a couple. Joined in studio for the entire hour by Kim McAtee. She's with Coldwell Banker. We're talking about a great topic today. The subject, 10 tips to get your offer accepted. And really, really important, I would stress, to listen to these types of things. One of the things, as most of you know, you've been listening to the show for a while, is that we focus on education information. We have great guests like Kim, for an example, that come on. She gives of her time to, really share her knowledge and what she sees out in the marketplace. And so I would encourage everyone to tune in and, take mental notes, because our main objective is to make you wiser consumers with your real estate transactions. That's really what it is. We don't expect you to be real experts. We're the experts in those different respective areas, but we do like to educate you and give you good information just so you're armed enough so you could ask the right questions and hire the right people and hopefully have a successful transaction. That's what we'll aim to continue to try to do. So 10 tips to get your offer accepted, and Kim is going through those with us. And by the way, if anyone would like a copy of this, Kim would be happy to get it to you. So during the show, you could call us, 1-800-516-1220, or again, text 408-838-9060. If you'd like a copy of the 10 tips that's Kim's talking about today, she's happy to provide you a copy of that. So you want to summarize the first 3, Kim, we went through, and then we could jump to number 4?
Great, Joe. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone who just tuned in and missed the first 3, the first one, and most importantly, choose a real estate agent who's committed to forming a strong business relationship with you. And that means someone who is relational versus transactional. You want someone who's going to form a long-term relationship with you before, during, and after the sale. The number 2 would be get your financing in place before you start looking at homes. Make sure that you have a fully underwritten approval. by a lender before you start looking at homes, so you know exactly what your spending ability is. The third would be participate actively in the search process. Your real estate agent, no matter how great they are, they can't buy the house for you. You need to participate. So don't try to delegate it or abdicate that responsibility. So we're on number 4 now. Find out what the seller wants. This is very, very important because it puts you in the seller's shoes, and it's important to be able to craft your offer that is beneficial to you but also beneficial to the seller. I mean, it's important to be able to have a successful offer on both sides. It's not always about the money. People think that you just throw money at the property and you're going to get it, but sometimes it's something else that the seller may want. They may have lived there for 30 or 40 years, and they're not going to be able to get out of the house in 2 or 3 weeks. Sometimes they'll have an offer that's all cash and 15-day close, and it will terrify someone who has been in a house and is trying to get out after being there for 20 or 30 years and all the things that you accumulate over the years. A seller may want to rent back. They may be looking for a house to purchase but may need to sell theirs first. So they may want to close a transaction and then rent back for 30, 60, or 90 days to be able to find something that they can move to. That's really important now. We're seeing a lot of rent backs in properties because most people are not accepting offers that are contingent on a buyer selling their house in another area. And inspections. Sometimes the seller wants an as-is sale, which means that you can do inspections, but they don't want you to be coming back and asking them to do repairs. So it's just really important to find out what's important to the seller, and your agent can do that by having long discussions with the listing agent to find out what the seller's hot buttons are and ways that you can create your offer.
Very good. So that's 4. Let's we have about 2 minutes left. Let's jump into number 5.
Okay, consider homes that have been on the market for a while. Most buyers want the updated house in the great neighborhood that is perfect in every aspect, and those are the ones that are going to have the most competition. So if you consider houses that have been on the market for a while, sometimes they're overpriced, sometimes they need repairs, sometimes there's nothing wrong with the house, but it just hasn't been updated. So maybe you could put new carpet and paint in and have a great house. So consider homes that have been on the market for some time, and oftentimes you can get a great deal on properties like that. Look for different kinds of alternatives, maybe a fixer-upper or something that's not as updated as the houses that are most appealing to the general public.
That's a good point. Before we take this break, Kim, would you say if a home's on, it sounds funny because it's such a crazy market, right? Unusual, I should say. If a home's on the market for a little while that's untypical, then would it be either it's an undesirable or maybe the price is too high? Because usually if a home is priced right these days, right, usually they go pretty quick, or at least there's a lot of interest, isn't there?
Yes, that's true. Usually usually a house is overpriced when it's been on the market for 3 or 4 weeks, and in our market.
Yeah, all right. All right, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, much more. If you have any questions for Kim, or if you'd like a copy of the 10 tips, 1-800-516-1220, or text 408-838-9060. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes. Thank you for tuning in today. Our guest in studio for the entire hour, Kim McAtee. She's with Coldwell Banker. Topic today, 10 tips to get your offer accepted. Really, really good stuff here Kim's put together. Again, if you'd like a copy of the 10 tips, Kim has offered to pass that along for anyone. If you want to call, if you have a question about the tips or you'd like a copy, you could give us a call, 1-800-516-1220, or you could text 408-838-9060. So I think we got through 5, Kim. If you do you want to briefly or just recap quick 1 through 5, and then we could roll into 6?
Yep, I'll do that real quick. So number 1 would be choose a real estate agent who's committed to forming a strong relationship with you before, during, and after the sale. Number 2, get your financing in place before you start looking at homes. Make sure you know exactly what a lender is committing to provide you in the way of financing. Number 3, participate actively in the search process. The real estate agent cannot buy the house for you, so make sure that you're there and present during all the process of purchasing the house. Find out what the seller wants is number 4. It's not always about the money.
Mm-hmm.
Look for things like close of escrow, rent back, different inspection criteria. There may be lots of things that a seller wants that don't necessarily mean that you have to just throw money at the property. And number 5, consider homes that have been on the market for a while. A fixer or a property that's not updated may be a great opportunity to get a better price than having to compete on the house that's completely updated and in a great neighborhood. So that takes us to number 6.
Yeah.
Do your research on your competition.
Very good. Get
your agent's help. This is one that is probably not discussed very much, but I think it's very, very important. Know who you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. It's important. As an agent, when I am presenting an offer to another agent, I want to find out as much. If I don't know that agent personally, I want to find out as much as I can about them. Are they a local agent? Are they out of the area? Do they know about the conventions and the processes of the particular area that you're working in? There are different contracts. Even in the Bay Area, the Peninsula has a different contract than the East Bay. What do you know about how they work? And the listing agent, how long have they been licensed? Have they been in the business for 20 years? Or is this the first listing that they've ever had? I'm going to deal differently with somebody who's brand new versus somebody who's been in the business for many, many years. So it's important to know who you're dealing with and know who your competition is when you're writing an offer. If you're in a situation where there are going to be multiple offers, find out who else is writing on it. Your agent can find that out and ask questions. Some agents have a reputation for having their clients write offers way, way over the sales price. So you want to know if you're competing against someone like that. That may not be the house that you want to write on.
That's a really good point. And I think this is what I love about what you put together here, Kim. There's a lot of, it's easy just to sit back and say, well, just, hire an agent and do the job. But, boy, there's so much that goes into not only, a well put together offer, but a strategic offer and the homework and the stuff that you're going to continue to talk about. But on this number 6 here, just getting to know the agents and understanding them, that as I listen to you and I see that on the financing side, it's amazing how, when someone will put an offer, for instance, one of the things I automatically will do, we'll call the listing agent and put in a good word for the financing on behalf of the clients. Is there anything I can answer any questions? And a lot of times I'll ask the agent, should I do that? And most of them will say, oh, yeah, that'd be great. But some of them say, no, I don't really think it's necessary. And it's interesting. You would think that in a market like this or any time, you would want to present yourself as well as you could, right?
That's absolutely true, Joe. And we'll talk more about that when we get to number 9. Yeah. That's very important.
All right, we're going to take another quick break. We come back, much more. A lot of good stuff here. The 10 tips to get your offer accepted. Joe Kuchera with the Real Estate Radio Live. Questions 1-800-516-1220. Text line 408-838-9. Minutes left here with Kim McAtee. She's with Coldwell Banker. Kind enough to put together a list for us, 10 tips to get your offer accepted. Really good stuff. If you want a copy, let us know, 1-800-516-1220. Or you could text 408-838-9060. So we're getting most of the way through here. What we'll do maybe in the last segment, Kim, I think we could summarize all 10 of them. So want to make sure we get through these. So I think we got number 7.
Okay. Thanks, Joe.
So this is a good one. Yeah, listen up on this one.
Do your homework in advance. I know that sounds really boring, but it's really important. It's like your mother.
It's
Do your homework.
Though.
It is so true because you're the only one who knows how sensitive you are to the neighborhood noise or crime rates, the schools. Are there power lines close by? What's going on with the neighbors? Do they have 5 pickup trucks in the front yard? No offense to anyone who drives a pickup truck. But are there environmental concerns? And insurance. Call your insurance agent early and find out about what the insurance would be on a property that you're considering, especially flood insurance. FEMA has redrawn some new maps this year, and there are properties that have not required flood insurance in the past, but they will very soon. So do all this homework in advance. It's really important. Ask these important questions before you make an offer on a home. A contract is written in good faith that you're going to proceed with it. So don't think just because you have an inspection contingency that might be a week or two that you can just cancel. You find out you certainly can cancel, but try to find out this information ahead of time so that you feel more confident with your offer going forward, and that'll give you more confidence in your purchase.
Perfect. Number 8.
Submit a complete and professional offer.
Oh, boy.
I'm sure Joe has seen contracts before that really you kind of wonder, where did this person get their license?
The same way, it's professional courtesy. I think it's a lot of different things. And so, yeah, sometimes we'll get contracts and they're just as beautiful as could be, and it just makes our job so much easier. And other times we'll get just something you have to get additional copies, and they don't want to give you another copy, and it's just on it. So yeah, go through this and just for the consumer's benefit, what their expectations, what they should be able to get to. This is good stuff here.
Well, one thing that's very important, first of all, the lender, everyone that's involved in the transaction, from the lender to the agent to the title and the escrow company, they need a complete executed copy of the contract. And if you have an incomplete contract, then they don't know what they're supposed to do. A lender can't order an appraisal. They can't send it to an underwriter. The title company can't do their work to research the title if they don't have a complete contract. So it's really important. And I've got a list that I use just personally when I'm writing up an offer of 20 things to include in your offer. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I'm happy to email that to you. One of the things I think it's important to include is a letter to the sellers, and you'll hear stories. I'm sure you have friends that have written all kinds of crazy letters, but I've had sellers actually in tears reading letters from buyers that were very, very sincere about what really touched them when they walked into the house and why they'd like to buy it. Most of the houses that we're selling nowadays are properties that are primary residences. So the sellers want to know who's moving into their home, who's going to be friends with their neighbors, and those types of things. So it's really important to give the offer a little bit of personality. And a letter to the agent. I think this is really important, especially if it's an agent that your agent is not familiar with. Let them know what you're about and how you are to work with, that you're going to be reasonable and fair and that type of thing. Give them a little bit of history about yourself as an agent. And then one thing I think is really important, and we have gotten away from this lately, is ask your agent to present the offer in person to the seller. That used to be the convention, and when we got to the point where there were so many multiple offers, a lot of agents didn't want 10 or 15 people presenting to the seller, or the seller didn't want to hear all the offers. But it really gives a different color to your offer when your agent sits down in front of the seller and explains the strengths of your offer and gives the seller a little bit of background about you personally. It makes a big difference. So sometimes the sellers don't want to do it. Sometimes the listing agent doesn't want to do it. But I always encourage people to have their agent asked to present it in person. I think it makes a huge difference.
Well said. A lot of good information here. So we are down to number 9.
Number 9, this is where Joe comes in. Have your lender contact the listing agent to answer any questions about your qualifications.
Absolutely.
This is very, very important. I think it's important so the listing agent and the seller understand that the lender knows what they're talking about. They're committed to the timelines that are in the contract and committed to making things happen according to the terms in the contract. It's extremely important, and it gives the listing agent and the seller another level of confidence with the buyer's offer.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. You and I were talking a little bit off air earlier on this, and there's so much that could be gained, and so much positive. You never know what, I mean, even a 2 to 3 minute phone call, right? When you're just introducing yourself and asking I love when real estate agents call me and ask as many questions as possible, because you just don't know. I mean, a contract's one thing, and there's a lot of details in a contract, but there are other things that aren't in a contract. I mean, people's mood or how they like to operate, or, be aware of this. I mean, there's so much to picking up a phone call. I know a lot of us are busy and we work with email and text and all this, but sometimes a call is so valuable, isn't it? Just for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely.
It really is. All right, we are going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to finish up on number 10, and then Kim will go through them quickly again on our last segment. We're going to give her information out. If you have any questions or if you'd like a copy of this, again, you can get a couple different ways, 1-800-516-1220, or you could text 408-838-9060. This is Joe Kuchera with the Real Estate Radio Live. We'll be back with you in just a couple. Kuchera with the Real Estate Radio Live as we wind down the show here. Just a couple of minutes, going by real fast. Such great information here provided by Kim McAtee with Coldwell Banker, and we're talking about the 10 tips to get your offer accepted. Really good stuff. We're going to go through number 10, and then Kim's going to summarize them for us before we have to duck out today. And then just lastly, again, if you want to reach us in the next couple minutes, 1-800-516-1220 or 408-838-9060. So I think what you could do, if you wouldn't mind, let's go to number 10, and then Kim, if you could summarize them quickly before we go, that would be great. All 10 of them.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Well, number 10 is kind of my philosophy about life as well as real estate, and that is to remember that you can only control what you can control. There are so many different moving pieces in a real estate transaction, and any one person only has control over a certain part of them, a certain number of them. So do the best you can with the items that you can control, and then do whatever works for you in terms of thinking positive thoughts, say a prayer, rub your lucky rabbit's foot,
right.
And
sleep under the pyramid.
Exactly. Whatever works for
right.
you. Light a candle.
Right.
And I wish you good luck.
Very good. Yeah, those are all. So if you want to briefly summarize 1 through 10 again, and then we will get your information for those that are going to want it here. Okay,
great. So number 1, choose a real estate agent who's committed to forming a strong business relationship with you both before, during, and after the sale. Number 2, get your financing in place before you start looking at homes. Extremely important, a fully underwritten approval by a lender. Number 3, participate actively in the search process. Your real estate agent cannot buy the house for you, unless it's a family member.
Yeah, there you go.
Number 4, find out what the seller wants. Oftentimes you can construct your offer in a way that you don't necessarily have to throw money at the contract, at the house. Consider homes that have been on the market for a while. They will usually have less interest than homes that are completely updated. Do your research on your competition. Get your agent's help. Know who you're competing against if you're in a multiple offer situation. Do your homework in advance on the area, the schools, the neighborhoods, all those things that are important to you. Make sure you get those questions answered before you write an offer. And then submit a complete and professional offer. There are lots of things to include in your offer besides just the contract itself. And I encourage you to provide the more information, the better off that you are with the listing agent and the seller. Have your lender, number 9, have your lender contact the listing agent to answer any questions about your qualifications. This is important. They're part of the team, and it's important that the listing agent and the seller know that they're an important part of the team and that they'll do a great job for you as well. And number 10, you can only control what you can control. So don't get frustrated if people make decisions that you can't control, and hang in there.
These are well said. Really good. Before we have to go, Kim, I want to make sure, how would people reach you, telephone number and email and website?
Okay, my office phone is 925-376-3974. Email is kim@kimmcatee.com, and McAtee is MCATEE. Kim@kimmcatee.com, or go to my website, which is kimmcatee.com, and I would love to provide this list to you.
Great. Kim, thank you for being a guest today. You've been gracious and a lot of great information. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. Take care, have a great afternoon, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Tune in, log in, download our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com. RERadiolive.com.